What if everything you thought you knew about BTS was only half the story? What if behind the warm smiles, the triumphant return from military service, and the carefully orchestrated public appearances, a storm of jealousy and uncertainty is gathering, one that could threaten the very foundation of the world's biggest pop phenomenon? As millions of fans across continents prepare to celebrate BTS's long-awaited reunion, a single question is now sending shockwaves through every corner of the fandom. Is Kim Taehyung's meteoric rise becoming too powerful for his own group to contain? Sources close to the situation say that beneath the polished surface of camaraderie lies a fragile balance, one that has been tested as never before by Taehyung's explosive popularity. How could one member's soaring influence trigger unease within a band renowned for unity? Is this the beginning of a rift that no PR campaign can repair? And most of all, what does this mean for the future of BTS itself? The timing of this tension could not be more dramatic. Only weeks have passed since Taehyung completed his mandatory military service, an event framed by South Korean media as the dawn of BTS's triumphant new era. Within hours of his discharge, he was on the front page of every major entertainment outlet. He became the face of Composed Coffee, a strategic endorsement that not only eclipsed local competitors, but famously overtook Starbucks in South Korea's fiercely competitive market. At the same time, international fashion magazines, including Pop Magazine, anointed him Asia's most fashionable man, cementing a reputation that many insiders say now dwarfs that of any other member. But what is the price of such singular visibility in a group that has always emphasized collective identity over individual stardom? Observers familiar with K-pop dynamics note that the power of BTS has always been rooted in balance, a delicate equilibrium that gave each member room to shine without overshadowing the others. Yet behind closed doors, some sources claim that this balance has been quietly disintegrating. In private conversations, even longtime industry professionals have begun asking whether Taehyung's accelerating fame has crossed an invisible line. Fans have long celebrated Taehyung's dual persona, the sophisticated artist who can command the attention of fashion editors and luxury brands, and the playful performer whose unguarded moments drive viral engagement. But while that combination has captivated audiences worldwide, it has also fueled rumors that other BTS members are quietly grappling with feelings of resentment. Can any group survive when one member's popularity begins to eclipse the brand itself? Could Taehyung's success become the catalyst for a fracture no one wants to admit? At the heart of this speculation lies a series of events that, when pieced together, read less like coincidence and more like a trail of warning signs. According to insiders, early discussions about the group's post-military comeback were marked by unusually tense negotiations over media strategy. One source, who requested anonymity to protect professional relationships, described an atmosphere of uncertainty. It wasn't openly hostile, but everyone could feel it. Every decision seemed to revolve around how to balance Taehyung's brand with the group's image. There were questions no one wanted to say out loud. Is this really still a team effort? Or are we witnessing the rise of a solo empire? If this sounds far-fetched, consider the evidence hiding in plain sight. When BTS announced their first group schedule after military service, media coverage immediately gravitated toward Taehyung. News articles about his Composed Coffee partnership outperformed coverage of the reunion itself. Video clips of his return were replayed tens of millions of times, dwarfing engagement metrics for similar moments featuring other members. Even the simplest posts on social media, an airport wave, a passing smile, drew an avalanche of attention. Was it ever possible for the rest of BTS to compete with that level of obsession? Some longtime fans have begun asking whether this lopsided focus is eroding the group's unity. As much as ARMY insists that every member is equally cherished, the algorithms and headlines tell a different story. Search trends increasingly show Taehyung as the primary driver of engagement. Analysts note that his endorsements alone have generated unprecedented revenue streams that overshadow comparable deals signed by his bandmates. Is it any wonder, then, that whispers of envy have begun circulating in industry circles? Those whispers have been amplified by a series of subtle but telling moments that have unfolded in the public eye. During a recent group live stream, eagle-eyed fans noticed that Taehyung seemed slightly detached, answering fewer questions, smiling a little less often, while the other members exchanged glances that some interpreted as discomfort. Could this have been nothing more than fatigue after months of high-intensity promotion? Or was it the visible manifestation of private tensions finally spilling into view? If you believe the accounts of several insiders, the mood behind the scenes is more complex than the curated narratives suggest. According to a veteran stylist who has worked with BTS for over 6 years, the group is still grappling with the question of how to present themselves in an era when Taehyung's magnetism is rewriting the rules. It's not that anyone dislikes him, the stylist said carefully. They're proud of him. But they also understand that if you have a brand that depends on everyone being equal and suddenly one person becomes much bigger than the rest, you can't pretend it doesn't change the dynamic. Everyone is feeling that shift, even if they don't talk about it. It is a shift that has real consequences. Branding experts warn that any perception of internal division can damage the group's value, not just in the eyes of fans, but also in boardrooms where endorsement contracts are negotiated. After all, BTS is not only a cultural juggernaut, but a multi-billion-dollar business. If investors begin to sense that Taehyung's individual brand is incompatible with the group's image, they may start hedging their bets. Is this the moment when the group's unity stops being an asset and starts becoming a liability? While some voices insist this is nothing but manufactured drama, others are less certain. The stakes are simply too high to ignore. Consider the scale of Taehyung's endorsements alone. Compose Coffee has credited his influence with a historic surge in market share, while Pop Magazine's September issue broke digital engagement records within days of release. For a brand built on the idea of togetherness, such outsized success carries a hidden danger. It risks turning a shared narrative into a solo spectacle. This possibility has not escaped the notice of rival labels and media outlets. In fact, some industry observers believe that competitors are deliberately stoking the narrative of division, hoping to exploit any perceived weakness. Is it possible that the rumors of tension are themselves part of a coordinated campaign to destabilize BTS's return? Or are they merely the inevitable consequence of Taehyung's unprecedented rise? One thing is certain: the fandom is watching every detail, searching for clues in every interaction. When the group appeared on a recent variety show, the mood among fans was electric, but also anxious. Every exchange, every expression, was scrutinized for signs of strain. Did Jin look uncomfortable when Taehyung described his solo endorsements? Did Jungkook's smile falter when the interviewer called Taehyung the face of BTS? Are these nothing but imagined slights or glimpses of a deeper fissure? Some fans argue that it is unfair to hold Taehyung accountable for the intensity of public interest. After all, he did not create the obsession that now defines his image. But others counter that his willingness to lean into solo projects, even as the group prepared for a comeback, has contributed to a perception that he is building a separate empire. Is it betrayal, ambition, or simply the inevitable evolution of a global superstar? This is the question that no one inside the BTS machine seems ready to answer. If Taehyung's fame continues to grow at this velocity, can the group remain intact? Or is the world witnessing the early stages of a transformation that will end with Taehyung standing alone at the top, an icon in his own right, no longer tethered to the collective identity that made him famous? And if that happens, what becomes of BTS? Will the group reconfigure itself around a new dynamic, or will it splinter into rival factions, each determined to reclaim a piece of the magic that once made them untouchable? The stakes could not be higher. For the fans who have invested years of love, money, and belief, the idea of a fractured BTS is almost unthinkable. But the signs are impossible to ignore. In the end, no matter how carefully the group tries to project unity, the truth will find its way into the light, because when a star burns as brightly as Taehyung, it inevitably casts shadows. And if you look closely enough, you will see them lengthening behind every headline, every endorsement, every triumphant return. Will BTS survive the gravity of his success? Or is this the beginning of a story no one dared imagine? One where the group that conquered the world must now fight to survive its own legend. You may think you know the answer, but in the world of K-pop, nothing is ever as simple as it seems. And until BTS themselves speak, All you can do is watch, wonder, and ask the question no fan wants to face. What if this really is the end of an era?